What's up, guys? It's your girl, Dedicated Diva, and I am back with another homeschooling update. I think this is around number 16. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe for more podcasts and videos like this. Now, when they came back from the Christmas break, they had AIMS testing, and that was basically for the teachers in the school to see how much that your student have grown, I would say, from the beginning of the year to now. And both of my kids, they did great. My daughter, she's in kindergarten. My son, he's in 8th grade. They both did very well. My daughter, I am so happy with her because she's in kindergarten, and going into kindergarten, she knew some things, but she has learned so much. I mean, with reading, and I'm just blown away. But if you guys didn't know, I went through K12.com and I got them into a public tuition free school. And this is my form of homeschooling. Now, I've also homeschooled my son before he even got here, and it was actually just books, me, telling him things, and he went where he had to go for testing. So, this is just my form of homeschooling. In more videos, I'll be getting into more detail about different types of homeschooling. Let me put it like that. Now, everything with their grades and different things like that is just fine. My son, he's taking off in math. I thought that it was going to take forever, and I thought that he was going to kind of be like me when it comes to angles and fractions and variables and integers and all that, but he's doing just fine. Now, getting down to the meat and potatoes of what I really wanted to talk about, I'm seeing a lot of things in these homeschooling groups that they kind of bother me because I guess I'm the type of parent where I'm kind of laid back and I don't apply that much pressure to my kids. And the reason why I don't is because that never worked for me when I was younger. It never worked when people would try to push me to do something. Even when I do that now, if I do it to myself and I try to push myself to do something, it never works. So I'm the type of parent to where I'm more laid back and I'm more chilled, but they also know that there are boundaries that they shouldn't cross, if that makes sense. And with going in these groups, I see so many different things. And so I have a card here in front of me that I want to talk, just hit on some points. Now, one of the points is I've seen a lot of parents that do the sit back and watch type method. They think that when they child, it does not matter whether they're in a regular brick and mortar school where they leave, their home every morning, or they're in homeschool. They think that their teacher should teach, or their child's teacher should teach that child everything, and that's not true. That teacher is there to teach, sure, the basic things, and what we feel like that they should learn, air quotation marks, what they should learn. But it's also up to you as the parent and the learning coach to really make sure that they're understanding everything. Most people think that tutoring is bad, or if the child is kind of lagging off, they feel like it's where the child is not focusing and not paying attention. I don't know if it's like this for you, but for me, sometimes if I don't get things, I just don't get it. It does not matter how many times you tell it to me. It don't matter how many times you twist it. If it's the same person telling it to me and I didn't get it the first time, I'm just not going to get it. And so some people need to learn that tutoring is not a bad thing. Most of the time, tutoring is needed. And if you are doing a homeschooling like I am, where it's a public tuition free and you have access to, where your child can kind of talk to the other kids in class, this is a great way to get each other's email address and Maybe they can talk over Zoom, and that child can help your child if that child knows, is getting it a little bit more. And they can talk over Zoom, or they can talk over Skype. It's so many ways to help your child to get on track if you don't want to pay for tutoring or something like that. Don't always put it on the child and tell the child what they should be learning and what they should know, because sometimes when you just don't get it, you just don't get it. And also, if your child has to interact with anyone on a daily basis, stay around them. If you can't stay around them, there should be some other guardian that can stay around that child while they are doing what they're doing. And the reason why I say this is because my daughter, she's in kindergarten, and I see it with my son, he's in 8th grade also. But it's a lot of times where when they're in their class connects in the morning times, with their teacher talking back and forth with them, it's a lot of kids that are rude, and it's a lot of parents that's not around, and you can tell they're not around. If your child has to interact with anyone, make sure you're around, because it's kind of like, whether it's a brick and mortar school or it's a home school, if that child is going from kindergarten to 1st grade to 2nd grade, all the way up to 12th grade, and the same kids are going to school with that student, the stigma and the experience that they had with that child the first time around will be the same time once they get older. That's what they're going to always remember. And you have some children that are very rude. And I know it sounds funny in saying in kindergarten, but if you have a younger child or if you have kids, you totally understand. Kids can be very rude, as do some of the parents once it comes out that you're trying to tell them on what their child did and they're not around. Even with my son, and he's in the 8th grade, I hear his teacher telling kids all the time to stop talking in chat, and that she can read what they wrote and it wasn't so nice, and they get put on some type of timeout. So if your child is interacting with anyone, make sure you're around them to see what they chat, what they're typing and what they're saying. And this is for some of this third one is for some of my younger kiddos. Make sure you read to your child and let them read to you. As soon as your child can start sounding out words, get books with sight words or with popcorn words, small little words like the, and, see, a, just words that you will see all the time, or like cat, hat, things like that. Make sure you read to them. They see each letter that you're reading, or each word that you're reading, and let them read to you. Another thing is to make sure your child listens. It's a lot of kids that put on these headsets, and guys, this is things that I see and I hear every day, and when I go to the Facebook group, this is just some things that I pick up. Make sure your child listens. It's nothing worse than a teacher going through almost 35 minutes of teaching, and to ask your child something and almost have to kick them out of a group, have to not kick them, like literally kick them, but virtually kick them out of a group where they're not listening, or where they don't know something, or they have to put them in their own little room just for them to focus. Make sure your child listens. Make sure your child is retaining information. One of the best ways that I do this, I always ask my daughter and my son, what did they learn from each individual class? It does not matter if you do it after the class. It will be more effective if you do it that way, or you ask them later on in the day. Now, I never do this with my daughter, asking her later on in the day, just because she's smaller and I don't want her to kind of forget or feel like I'm pressuring her to do so. So after each class, I ask them, what did you learn? What did you do? if I asked you to do something, whatever you did in class, would you be able to do it over again? That type of thing. Another thing is to be motivational. You can't walk around all frumpy where you're tired and you didn't want to get up and you're putting it off on your child. You have to wake up. If you don't have that energy, it has to look like you have that energy. Your kids know you better than almost anyone. They know when you're down, they know when you're feeling some type of way. They were in your stomach for how long? So they know how you're feeling. You have to be motivational. You have to give them that push that's needed. Just think about if you were going to homeschool. How would you want your mom or dad getting you up every morning? That's something to think about. Another thing is to make sure you schedule everything around their class times. If you have to put it on your Google Calendar, I would really advise everyone to get a Google account if you don't have one, so you can get Google Calendar. So you'll have access to Google Calendar. It's a must when it comes to scheduling out any events or any task around your children doing anything in school, especially if you have two kids like I do. For some reason, I put their things on different schedules, and I'm working now to blend it together. But make sure you schedule everything around what they are doing. It's a great way to for you to be able to push your things in also. Also, if you have a problem, be able to talk to your child's teacher. Make sure you know their email address by heart. Make sure you don't have to go in through any type of portal. Make sure you know your teacher's email address and telephone number and their extension. This leads me to say one other thing also. I'm almost done. But make sure you have all numbers, whether it's numbers to the school, numbers to the teachers. If your child have, different teachers, number to each teacher, their email address. If you need tech support, if you're missing something out of your lesson, make sure you have all the phone numbers that's needed. Just say you may need to talk to someone about your address being changed, or you need to talk to someone about you're looking for some type of check or something to come in from something. Make sure you have every fees to the guidance counselors. But believe it or not, homeschooling children do have guidance counselors. And so everything is basically it's set up just like a regular brick and mortar school, what my children do. It's set up like a regular brick and mortar school. Make sure you have all telephone numbers that's needed. So if you ever need anything, you don't have to go and ask around to 1,000 people. You would just have that list on hand. And I suggest you put that within like Google Drive or something. You may want to scan it and email it to yourself at that Gmail address and save it within your Google Drive. And just basically after that, guys, because I don't want to hold you guys for too long, just make sure that you always put your child first. Make your child always feel like you're putting them first. Never give up on them. Homeschooling can be very, 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 very hard. It can be very strenuous because some kids feel like because they're at home, they can do things a certain type of way and they can kind of be lazy and, make sure your child have structure. Structure is needed. I know a lot of us live a lifestyle where we want to do things our own way, but we have to make sure our kids have structure. We have to make sure that they know that it's a certain way things has to be done, because everything in life is not so carefree, and sometimes you have to have structure on the outside of your home. So just think about that and make sure your kids have manners. And when it comes to assignments and different things like that, make sure you know the deadline for assignments. Make sure you stay up on your child's assignments. Make sure you know when they do. Make sure you look around for tests, because sometimes tests cannot be done a week later. Test has to be done right then. And just make sure you just stay focused. You love your child. You show them that they're there. You're homeschooling them for a reason. And if you're not currently homeschooling your child, I would recommend it. It takes some getting some used to, but it is so worth it. Show your child why you homeschool them. Show them why. I mean, why it's necessary. Why you want to do that. Just start sitting down, having that talk with your child to tell them how important they are, to tell them how important school is, to tell them how important it is to succeed. They don't have to be like everyone else. Going to homeschool shows your child they don't have to be like everyone else. They don't have to do what everyone else does. It's different ways to get anything done. Show them that you have that hope and that faith in them, and they will succeed.